Ever wanted your Salesforce data to waddle over to MotherDuck without a fuss? Today we're building a Keboola flow where leads and opportunities take a little trip, no suitcases, just clean configs. We'll set up the extractor, flap over to a transformation, optional but stylish, and land it safely in MotherDuck. It's kind of like matchmaking, but for data. Let's build the flow and watch these two get along beautifully. And hey, if you like ducks, octopi, or maybe just efficient data pipelines, give this video a quack. Hit subscribe and like the video. It helps our flock grow. Let's dive inside of Keboola. So as I said, we're going to dive right into Keboola here. And so remember, we're building a Salesforce into MotherDuck flow here. So we want to start off with building that Salesforce extractor. So I can search for Salesforce. I already have a configuration built out. So essentially what that means for us in this video is I've already put in my login, password, security token. So no one likes watching a video and watching people have to hide all their credentials. So I've already done that. So to save us a little bit of time. You can see I already have 4 rows built out here, but I'm going to build out a custom one for us. And we're going to build out participants. There we go. So that is a field inside of Salesforce. And so you can see you can query by type or a custom query there. We're just going to do an object. And then we can look at our objects. I can search for participant. Perfect. And of course, looking at the fields here, you can see that, obviously, you can select all these fields and have them. You can select specific ones if you don't want to pull in all the data whenever you load this out. If it says if it left empty, all fields will be downloaded. So I'm just going to leave it empty. And then down here on the bottom, you can see that you can name this storage. If you can name this name if you want to. So I'm going to go ahead and name this SF participants. Test participants. Geez, spelling is hard. So yeah, and you can see here down here as well as you can do a load type of a full load or incremental. So if your data set is very, very big and you expect it to, be changing over time, obviously you can change this to incremental update based on a key as well if you would like. So that's all we got to do to set this thing up here. And so what I can do is I can go ahead and run this component. So whenever I run this component, it's going to allow us to set up the MotherDuck writer and actually choose this exact table, see the fields, see everything that's going to go into it, so that there's no guessing games. So you can see down here we have created a job, and so we're going to take a moment, let this thing finish up, and then we'll jump back in and go work on our MotherDuck writer. Perfect. So you can see now in our last use we have a success job. So this thing was loaded into Keboola. So now we can pop back into my components. And then we can search for MotherDuck, or it's right there on the top for us. So we have a data source or data destination. We're going to do destination. Again, I've already built one of these out just to test. And we have our access token. And what's cool about this is once you set your access token in, you can actually load your databases. So we're going to do our SF video database. Of course, as you open that drop down, it allows you to choose whichever ones you want. We're going to do SF video. And then schema, we always have a main schema in there. Obviously, you can choose whichever ones you want if you have different ones in there. I tested this with maybe some playing cards. Don't tell anyone. Maybe some playing cards. Let's build this thing out for our SF participants. So I can do SF participants. There's our table. Go ahead and click create. And so since we went ahead and ran that and had the data inside of Keboola, you can see all this table input mapping is already set up for us. And of course, inside of DuckDB, or I'm sorry, inside of MotherDuck, excuse me. If you already have your table written, or if the table's already created, you can just come in here and select it. If not, we got to enter our name in. So I'm going to go ahead and enter that name in just a moment here. Perfect. So you can see we have our table name in there, SF participants. It's unload type, incremental load. We're just going to do a full load here. It's not much data. And then what we can also see, I can also click load columns. So whenever I click load columns, it's going to give me a list of all the columns that are in this table, which again is why it's important we go ahead and run that extraction before we set up the writer here. And you can see we have our source column, we have our destination column name, we have our data type. We can choose what's a primary key, nullable, choose the default value, and then of course just delete a column off if we don't want it. And so what's cool here is that we can actually change our column name. So if I want to change this to like Salesforce ID, I could do that. I could change my data types here. So choose whatever I want. They all default to varchar just because that's things aren't going to break usually that way at least. But of course you can come back through here and change all those if you want to. I'm just going to leave them all as varchar just for the video because this isn't actually going to a production data pipeline. So that works there. I can go and click save. So you can see we have that saved. I'm not going to go ahead and run this one. I'm going to set this thing up in a flow. So if I go to our flows up here, we can do a create flow, and I'm going to do a Salesforce to MotherDuck flow. Okay, so go ahead and click create flow. And then it takes us to our flow page here. So we can select our first step, search for Salesforce data source. There's our configuration. And of course, it defaults to all rows. We just want to grab our participants that we set up in our video, but all of them are there if you want to choose, 2, 3, or all of them, right? So that works. So now we need to choose our MotherDuck configuration data destination. Perfect. And again, it's going to default to all rows, but we just want SF participants there. So that works. So we have both of our steps here. I'm going to change our step names. So we'll do Salesforce extraction. Of course, we can set notes up there as well, which I think is great. And then MotherDuck writing. So just so, obviously, as someone, I'm a data person. I'm a little bit lazy with documentation sometimes. We give you the ability to actually write some notes in there for the rest of your team to actually be able to just come in and see what you were doing, which is great. I'm going to go ahead and click Run Flow. This is going to run. While it's running, I want to show off a couple of things that we have kind of for flows. So, of course, you can schedule these flows to run. You don't have to come in here and click the Run Flow button every single time, although it is fun. So if I click Create Schedule, you can see I can do a date and time or a triggered. So date and time, you can see, we have some presets up here, but of course you can set these things up whatever you want. It gives you a preview when that's going to run. And then coming over to notifications. So of course, like most tools, you can set a notification for if it finishes successfully, if it finishes with a warning, or if it finishes with an error. But what I really love about our notifications inside of Keboola is that we also have this fourth option where it's, if the job is taking longer than it usually does. So say this thing's taking an hour, and then you wanted to say, hey, if it takes 20% more than an hour, something weird's going on. Of course, with our data pipelines, there's always a bit of, ebb and flow on how long it takes. But if it's over 20 or 25%, we might want to get notified about that, because that means something's changing. Whether we're getting a lot of data from Salesforce, maybe maybe the MotherDuck database is not running like we want it to. Something's going on. So it gives us an opportunity to go check it out, right? Which I think is great. So that's our options for notifications. So if I pop back over into all runs here, you can see this thing has already finished running. It took 57 seconds with a status of success. And then you can actually break down here and see Salesforce extraction took 29 seconds with a success. MotherDuck took 20. So it kind of takes up, it kind of shows you exactly what, what's been what ran and how long each step took, which I think is great. And then of course, just so you know, I'm not selling you too much snake oil here. If I pop over into MotherDuck, you can see if I refresh this page, we should have a table under our SF video database under our main schema. You can see I click on that, and you can see there's all those columns that we showed before, just to show you that, hey, this thing actually got loaded in, which I think is great. So yeah, there's our data inside of MotherDuck. And just like that, your Salesforce data has found a cozy little pond in MotherDuck. Whether you're building dashboards, crunching leads, or just enjoy a clean pipeline, this flow's got your back. If this was helpful, give it a like, hit subscribe, and drop a chick in the comments just to know you're part of the flock. Until next time, keep your data tidy and your ducks in a row. We'll see you later.